Hello, Entanchi Kiawao. This is Andrea Menard, or you may know me as Notagoyutin, Grandmother Wind, or Shkotekwe, which is Firewoman. I know you haven't heard from me in a while, and that's because I've been processing a lot of stuff. I'm sure you've heard the news that there's been a lot of unmarked graves, of unmarked bodies of children found in old residential school graveyards or backyards, and I haven't wanted to talk to anybody. But you know what? That time is past. I am here because I know that for some of you, I am the only Indigenous person you know, the only person in your social media feed, which I'm encouraging you to change, to go seek out wise Indigenous people, because there's so many out there. But I realize that many of you are looking to me for some information, for some guidance, and I guess I'll take it upon myself to do that. The children found in the graveyards, in the residential schools, that's not new information for our community, but it's new information for many, many Canadians, and they're shocked, as they should be, because systematically that part of history, that part of Canada's past and present have been systematically erased. It's not in the schools, it's not in the media, it's not in your education, it's not in your churches. Because the system that most of you are a part of, and most of us are a part of, has been programmed to keep your blinders in place, to keep the system in place. And that system has been unbalanced and corrupt and detrimental to many, 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 many people since its inception. So what is it that I want to share? I guess the time for being compassionate, or no, wrong words. The time for pity, the time for momentary I can't even think of the word. The momentary pain is over, or it's just beginning. Make that, it's the beginning step. When a few of my friends, and some of you are part of that, you have been reaching out to me to say, I have been doing this, Andrea, I've been doing this, what else can I do? And I appreciate that, because you're taking action. But then there's so many of you too that are just saying, I'm sorry. I'm just calling to say I'm sorry. And that's absolutely okay. That is a moment on the journey of reconciliation. My elder, Aline Lafemme, said recently, she had a beautiful moment with a non-Indigenous person. But she goes, that's not reconciliation. She said, that's a moment on the journey of reconciliation. So for those of you who are feeling and wanting to do something, but you feel impotent, here are some things that you can do. Right now, if you think of all of the scenarios, whereas the children were dumped in a mass grave, their parents were not notified of their passing. So that's why they're unmarked graves. The parents weren't even notified that the children died. So huge. And as my friend Gregory Schofield said in his message, I'm finding words through the help of my relatives too. Gregory Schofield, who's a beautiful Métis writer, he said, all of the veterans, all the Canadian veterans, when they passed overseas, their families were notified by a telegram, and the government took responsibility for their child dying. overseas somewhere else. But the government was also responsible for these residential schools, and they didn't take it upon themselves to notify their parents in a way that was respectful or responsible. So that's an example. So we want government accountability in of what we've been, and people better educated and more articulate than I am for generations have been trying to fight. But of course, Indigenous people weren't allowed lawyers at one point. They were allowed to vote. So there wasn't a lot of noise we could make when we were completely left out of the media and completely left out of the jurisdiction. So that's where we need your help, is that you have clout. You have clout. And we need that clout from our non-Indigenous brothers and sisters. When you write a letter to the editor, when you write a letter to your church, when you write a letter to the government or the MP, it gets heard. And when several of you band together and write letters, or a union comes together and writes a letter, or a neighborhood or a university, when people come together and talk amongst themselves, they can make things happen. So we know there's a bit of momentum, and we're so grateful there's some momentum. People are waking up and you're wondering what to do. So write letters, read the 94 calls to action in the Truth and Reconciliation Commission. They have been around for, I'm thinking, 8 years now. And then there's the 231 calls to action of the missing and murdered Indigenous of Indigenous Women and Girls Inquiry National Report too. So there's those. That's an epidemic, So there is, I heard on the radio once, there is information for you to find if you are interested. I heard on CBC radio of a man who was saying, please, I'm waking up and I want to be able to have conversations with my neighbors and my colleagues, but I don't know what to say. Can you please provide us with things to say? And I heard from another wise person, Roberta Jameson. She said, who's one of the first Canadian Indigenous lawyers in Canada. She said that time for us doing that work is over. We did the work. The elders told their story. The women who were violated, survivors, told the stories. All that work has been done for you, Canada, for you. So that means that you can find it all online. There are packages. There's the Reconciliation Canada. There is so much information for you to find out on your own. So we need you now to do what you do best, which is research. You do the things. And there's so many good initiatives out there. A friend of mine in Saskatoon, Carrie Catherine, started ConnectR, which is a group of non-Indigenous people from her white community. She's saying, I want to come together and let's talk. And they created this online community about what they could do to make Saskatoon a better place. So you could do that in your own community. So it's educate yourself, talk to your neighbors, because the more people you have conversations with who say, it was in the past, get over it, oh my gosh, and that is still a very big argument from non-Indigenous Canada, which is, it was in the past. We get that you feel that, but it's for Indigenous people and people of a marginalized community, it's not in the past, it's in the present. And we need all the voices we can get to create the wave of change we're looking for. So educate yourself. I didn't finish that thought. So the more conversations that you have with your community, with non-Indigenous brothers and sisters and people out there, the less we have to do it, the less pressure on us, because you're going to see some of the vitriol that we get when we speak this truth. You're going to have to receive a lot of people's racism, or they may not call it that, but that's what it is, because it's blinders on. They've been taught to feel and believe and look a certain way, look at the world a certain way. So by you breaking out of that and deprogramming and recognizing what racism and white privilege is, you will be able to add your voice to the collective, because the conversations you now have with others who haven't woken up to that their complicit experience, you're going to recognize how hard it is to receive their anger and their blame and their vitriol. So the more conversations you have, the less we have to have, and we appreciate that. So educate your brothers and sisters in your neighborhood, in your church, in your school, in your company, in your job. Just take on those hard conversations. Educate yourself, and then once you feel like, wow, this is big, this is something we got to do, then have those conversations with your friends, relatives. And the next one is start supporting Indigenous organizations, businesses. There are so many books, writers, poets, musicians. There is knowledge for you in that, and we could use your support too. We could use your funds, so if you have a choice to support this business or this business, and this one's an Indigenous business, hopefully you will choose that one, because then you're widening your experience of Indigenous people in your realm. Start to follow them on the social medias, sign up for newsletters, join courses that are teaching decolonizing work or reconciliation work, or because there are people doing that in our communities. They have been working their tails off for this, and some of them are just straight up courses. Take them, buy them, share them. So I know that I have been an easy person to come to, and I plan on being an easy person to come to. I want to be an easy person to come to for the non-Indigenous community to be able to come to me. But let's not, and I will be that. That's part of my purpose here, is to be a gentle place for change, the rise of the sacred feminine. But I also want you to acknowledge that I'm also easy to come to because I look like a lot of you. I look non-Indigenous, and I have a lot of settler blood, and I acknowledge that. So I've had to do my own work of my brothers and sisters who are visibly Indigenous. They have a very different experience than I do. My mom and dad didn't go to residential school, so I have a privilege. I have an ease in my life that some of my relatives do not. And so I want you to acknowledge that I'm an Indigenous person, yes, but I make it very easy to come to me. So I want you to have a little bit of effort and to do the work and go and make yourselves uncomfortable. Go to places that you feel won't be welcome. You know what? There could be a little rage and blame coming your way. That's okay. That's totally okay. Rage and blame, you're just gonna get it. Just like your guilt and shame, that's yours to deal with. That's yours to deal with. And our rage and blame is ours to deal with. But we're doing our healing, and we hope that you do yours as well. But I ask that you allow yourselves to get uncomfortable, because this is not an easy journey. It's just disgusting. It's a disgusting, painful, hard journey. And if you're doing your work, and we're doing our work, then it's going to be an amazing journey together. But we're just taking the steps. So thank you for listening. Thank you for participating in this journey that we're on together, because we can't do it without you. Thank you. I love you. Marcy, Miigwech, and Kinanaskumtan. Hey, hey.